Dunfermline is a town and former royal borough and parish in Fife, Scotland, on high ground 3 miles from the northern shore of the Firth of Forth. The 2011 census recorded the town's population at 49,706. However, figures released in 2012 estimate Dunfermline's population as 50,380, making it the largest locality in Fife and the 10th largest in Scotland. Until the 17th century, the town served as the royal capital of Scotland. The earliest known settlements in the area around Dunfermline likely date as far back as the Neolithic period. The area was not regionally significant until at least the Bronze Age. The town was first recorded in the 11th century, with the marriage of Malcolm III, King of Scotland, and St. Margaret at the church in Dunfermline. His queen consort, Margaret, established a new church dedicated to the Holy Trinity, which evolved into an abbey under the son, David I, in 1128. Following the burial of Alexander I, the abbey graveyard confirmed its status as the mausoleum of Scotland's kings and queens. The town is a major service centre for West Fife. Dunfermline retains much of its historic significance, as well as providing facilities for retail and leisure. Fife College have a campus at Albeth, formerly Carnegie College. Employment is focused in the service sector, with the largest employer being Skybe. Other large employers in the area include Amazon, Best Western, C.R. Smith, FMC Technologies, Lloyds and Nationwide. Dunfermline has experienced significant expansion since 1999, especially in an expansion corridor on the eastern side of the town. This growth has edged the population centre towards the town's boundary with the M90 road corridor. It is planned to continue until 2022. Major developments include the creation of the Dulwich and Masterton neighbourhoods with over 6,000 homes, 3 new primary schools, new community infrastructure, employment, land and the Fife Leisure Park. With the expansion, there has been a dramatic rise in the town's population, more than 20% over a 15-year period. Fife Council have begun drafting plans for an expansion of a similar scale on Dunfermline's southwest, west and north sides, which will see the creation of 4,000 homes, a new high school and 3 new primary schools in the first phase. The peacock is strongly associated with Dunfermline and is considered a local icon. Linked to the town's Piton Creef Park, free-range peacocks and peahens have had the freedom of Dunfermline since the 1900s. In 2014, the park became home to a peacock sanctuary. History. There have been various interpretations of the name Dunfermline. The first element, Dun, translated from Gaelic, has been accepted as a hill, and is assumed to be referring to the rocky outcrop at the site of Malcolm Cantmore's tower in Piton Creef Glen. The rest of the name is problematic. The second element, the firm, may have been an alternative name for the tower burn according to a medieval record published in 1455, and that, together with the line burn to the south, suggests the site of a fortification between these two watercourses. The first record of a settlement in the Dunfermline area was in the Neolithic period. This evidence includes finds of a stone axe, some flint arrowheads and a carved stone ball which was found near the town. A crop mark which is understood to have been used as a possible mortuary enclosure has been found at Dean Park House, also near the town. By the time of the Bronze Age, the area was beginning to show some importance. Important finds included a bronze axe in Welwood and a gold torque from the parish churchyard. Cist burials from the Bronze Age have also been discovered at both Crossford and Masterton, the latter of which contains a pair of armlets, a bronze dagger and a set necklace believed to have complemented a double burial. The first historic record for Dunfermline was made in the 11th century. According to the 14th century chronicler John of Fordun, Malcolm III, King of Scotland, married his second bride, the Anglo-Hungarian Princess St. Margaret, at the church in Dunfermline between 1068 and 1070. The ceremony was performed by Fodard, the last Celtic bishop of St. Andrews. Malcolm III established Dunfermline as a new seat for royal power in the mid-11th century and initiated changes that eventually made the township the de facto capital of Scotland for much of the period until the assassination of James I in 1437. Following her marriage to King Malcolm III, Queen Margaret encouraged her husband to convert the small Caldy chapel into a church for Benedictine monks. The existing Caldy church was no longer able to meet the demand for its growing congregation because of a large increase in the population of Dunfermline from the arrival of English nobility coming into Scotland. The founding of this new church of Dunfermline was inaugurated around 1072, but was not recorded in the town's records. King David I of Scotland would later grant this church, dedicated to the Holy Trinity, to Unam Mansurum in Burgomeo de Dunfermline, which translates into a house, a dwelling place in my borough of Dunfermline. The foundations of the church evolved into an abbey in 1128, under the reign of the son, David I. Dunfermline Abbey would play a major role in the general Romanization of religion throughout the kingdom. At the peak of its power, the abbey controlled 4 burghs, 3 courts of regality and a large portfolio of lands from Moray in the north down into Berwickshire. Dunfermline had become a borough between 1124 and 1127, if not before this time. Dunfermline Palace was also connected to the abbey, and the first known documentation of the Old Alliance was signed there on the 23rd of October 1295. The union of the crowns ended the town's royal connections when James VI relocated the Scottish court to London in 1603. The Reformation of 1560 had previously meant a loss of the Dunfermline's ecclesiastical importance. On the 25th of May 1624, a fire engulfed around 3/4 of the medieval Renaissance borough. Some of the surviving buildings of the fire were the palace, the abbey, and the abbot's house. The decline in the fortunes of Dunfermline lasted until the introduction of a linen industry in the early 18th century. One reason for which the town became a centre for linen was there was enough water to power the mills and nearby ports along the Fife coast. These ports also did trade with the Baltic and Low Countries. Another reason was through an active industrial espionage in 1709 by a weaver known as James Blake, who gained access to the workshops of a damask linen factory in Edinburgh by pretending to act like a simpleton in order to find out and memorize the formula. On his return to his hometown in 1718, Blake established a damask linen industry in the town. The largest of these factories was St. Leonard's Mill, which was established by Erskine Beveridge in 1851. A warehouse and office block was later added around 1869. Other linen factories were built on land to both the north and south ends of the borough. During the mid-19th century, powerloom weaving started to replace linen and damask. The latter did not survive, going into decline straight after the end of First World War. In 1909, the Royal Navy established Scotland's only Royal Naval Dockyard at nearby Rosyth. Post-war housing began in the late 1940s with the construction of temporary prefabs and Swedish timber houses around areas such as King's Heath and Town Hill. Additional provisions were made for electricity, water and sewage systems. Council housing was focused towards Abbeyview, on a 97-hectare site on Aberdour Road touch, to the south of Garvark Hill, Bellyeoman and Baldridgeburn. Private housing became focused to the north of Garvark Hill and on the site of West Pitcorthy Farm. Today, Dunfermline is the main centre for the West Fife area, and is also considered to be a dormitory town for Edinburgh. The town has shopping facilities, a major public park, a main college campus at Halbeath and an out-of-town leisure park with a multiplex cinema and a number of restaurants. The online retailer Amazon.com has opened a major distribution centre in the Dulwich Park area of Dunfermline. Governance. Dunfermline obtained Royal Burgh status until this was abolished in 1975, under the Local Government Act 1973 in favour of the three-tier regions and districts. The Royal Burgh merged into Dunfermline District, which was one of three districts within the Fife region serving the town and West Fife from Kincardine to Aberdour. The District Council was abolished in 1996, under the Local Government etc. Act 1994, when the region became a unitary council area. The new unitary Fife Council adopted the areas of the former districts as council management areas, and created area committees to represent each. Today, Dunfermline is represented by several tiers of elected government: Abbeyview, Bellyeoman, Carnac and Gowk Hall, Central Dunfermline, Isett Avenue and Amp, Nethertown and Touch and Garvark community councils formed the lowest tier of governance, whose statutory role is to communicate local opinion to local and central government. Fife Council, the unitary local authority for Dunfermline, are the executive, deliberative and legislative body responsible for local governance. Dunfermline has retained some importance as an administrative centre, with the council's principal West Fife office based at New City House. Councillor meetings, including the City of Dunfermline Area Committee, take place in the Dunfermline City Chambers. Dunfermline forms part of the county constituency of Dunfermline and West Fife. The Dunfermline and West Fife UK constituency, created in 2005 when the previous seats Dunfermline East and Dunfermline West were abolished, elects a Member of Parliament to the House of Commons of the Parliament of the United Kingdom by the first-past-the-post system. The seat is currently held by Douglas Chapman MP for the Scottish National Party. For the purposes of the Scottish Parliament, Dunfermline forms part of the Dunfermline constituency. The Dunfermline Scottish Parliament constituency, created in 2011, following a review of Scottish Parliament constituency boundaries, is one of 9 within the Mid-Scotland and Fife electoral region. Each constituency elects one member of the Scottish Parliament by the first-past-the-post system of election. The seat was won at 2011 Scottish Parliament elections by Bill Walker for the SNP. At EU level, Dunfermline is part of the Pan-Scotland European Parliament constituency, which elects 7 members of the European Parliament using the DOT method of party list proportional representation. Scotland returned 2 Labour MEPs, 2 SNP MEPs, 1 Conservative and Unionist MEP and 1 Liberal Democrat MEP, to the European Parliament. Geography. Dunfermline is at 56.07139 degrees north, 3.46167 degrees west, 56.07139 minus 3.46167 on the coastal fringe of Fife. The medieval town rose from approximately 51 metres above sea level in the south, where Nethertown Broad Street can now be found, 69 to 67 7 meters west to east along what is now Priory Lane, to 90 to 101 meters up the High Street, from west to east, to 92 to 105 meters between Bruce Street and Queen Anne Street from south to north. Temperatures in Dunfermline, much like the rest of Scotland, are relatively moderate given its northern latitude. Fife is a peninsula between the Firth of The to the north, Firth of Forth to the south and the North Sea to the east. Summers are relatively cool and the warming of the water over the summer results in warm winters. Average annual temperatures in Dunfermline range from a maximum of 18 degrees Celsius to a minimum of 9 degrees Celsius. The town is geologically separated from the area to the north by the Cleash Hills. Demography. According to the 2001 census, Dunfermline had a total population of 39,229, representing 11.2% of Fife's total population. The 2011 census shows the population has risen considerably to 49,706, an increase of approximately 20% when compared to the 2001 census. There are 21,620 households in Dunfermline, 70.7% of which were owned. The demographic makeup of the population is much in line with the rest of Scotland. The age group from 30 to 44 forms the largest portion of the population. The civil parish has a population of 69,815. Recent Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation figures indicate that the most deprived data zone in Dunfermline is Abbeyview North, which is ranked as being one of the 5% most deprived areas in Scotland. The Headwell, Touch and Woodmill areas in Dunfermline fall within the 5 to 10% banding. Baldridge Burn, Brucefield and Halbeath areas are identified as being within the 10 to 15%, 15 to 20% banding of most deprived communities in Scotland. At January 2016 there was a recorded 718 job seekers allowance claimants in the Dunfermline area. This figure demonstrates an annual drop of 97 claimants from the 2015 recorded level. Economy. From about the 15th century, coal and limestone had been extracted in the area around Dunfermline, at first on a very small and localized scale. As the agricultural revolution gathered pace, the demand for lime increased the requirement for coal to burn it. Salt panning too required coal in large quantities, and the early outcrops near the Firth of Forth became exhausted, forcing the extraction to take place further inland. Many of the sites were within the present-day limits of Dunfermline. The increasing distance of the pits from the Forth made transport of the minerals an issue, and Dunfermline was a pioneer in the construction of wooden wagonways for the purpose. By the 18th century a complex network had developed, and in time many of the lines were converted to railways. The Halbeath Railway, the Fordle Railway, the Elgin Railway and the Town Hill Tramway being the most prominent. They generally ran from north to south, still conveying the mineral to the harbours at Charlestown, Limekilns, Inverkeithing and St David's. From 1848 more modern railways entered Dunfermline, at first on a west-to-east axis, intersecting the mineral lines. In time the latter were converted to make through running on to the main line network possible. During the Industrial Revolution and Victorian period, industry in Dunfermline was concentrated to the north of the town centre around Pilmuir Street, and to the south along sections of the Lynn Bernard, Elgin and Bothwell Streets, with textiles being particularly important to the town's economy. After the end of the Second World War, traditional industries, particularly linen and coal mining, declined and eventually became obsolete in the town, with many factories ceasing production. Manufacturing in the town rejuvenated by the early 1960s when Monotype Corporation opened a new factory on Halbeath Road. The completion of the Petrevie industrial estate opened in the mid-1970s, following the arrival of Phillips and the relocation of the offices of the Dunfermline Press. Smaller industrial estates were focused on Elgin Street, Halbeath Drive and Primrose Lane. The Dunfermline area has Fife's largest concentration of employment, providing approximately 26,600 jobs in 2009, approximately 16% of the 163,000 jobs in Fife. Wholesale and retail, health and social work, and information and communication of the predominant sectors in the local economy. There are also moderate instances of employment in finance, manufacturing, food services and accommodation. Key local employers include Best Western, Sky plc, C.R. Smith, FMC Technologies, Lloyds and Nationwide. In November 2011, online retailer Amazon.com opened a 93,000 square meters fulfillment warehouse in the east of the town adjacent to the M90 motorway. This development has created over 750 jobs and is the company's largest warehouse in the UK. The Newcastle-based Shepherd Offshore Group also planned to erect a renewables hub near the Halbeath interchange, off the M90 on a 6-hectare former Hyundai Motorola White Elephant factory. The demolition of the factory began in early 2011 with an expected date for completion at the end of the year. A master plan is being created for the site, identifying significant investment and development opportunities with the potential to create a substantial number of new jobs. Dunfermline is the principal shopping centre serving the western area of Fife and is the region's second largest town centre by floor space. Retailing accounts for 18% of the total number of jobs in the town. A bid scheme for the city centre has been in operation since 2009. The majority of shops and retail services in Dunfermline are concentrated in the town centre along a high street. The Kingsgate shopping centre is located on the pedestrianised section of the high street, giving Dunfermline a mix of modern and traditional shops. A major extension of the Kingsgate shopping centre was completed in 2008, improving and expanding the retail offer in the town by attracting a major department store brand and range of other smaller retailers. Other retail areas in Dunfermline exist at Carnegie Drive Retail Park to the north of the town centre and Halbeath Retail Park to the east of the town. A large neighbourhood centre with one of the town's major supermarkets was also built as part of the eastern expansion area of Dunfermline. The Fife Leisure Park, constructed in 1999, is adjacent to the M90 at Halbeath on the eastern outskirts of Dunfermline. The leisure park has a large cinema, a health club, bowling alley and a number of restaurants. Landmarks and notable buildings. The Category A listed Dunfermline Abbey on the Kirkgate as one of the best examples of Scoto-Norman monastic architecture. The abbey, built between 1128 and 1150 under David I, was a reconstruction of the Benedictine chapel dedicated to the Holy Trinity, founded by his mother, Queen Margaret. Despite much of the monastic buildings being destroyed by the troops of Edward I in 1303, there are substantial remains, with the lower stories of the dormitory and latrine blocks on the east side of the cloister being the earliest surviving parts, dating back to the early 13th century. The Abbey Parish Church, designed by the architect William Byrne, was built between 1818 and 1821 on the site of the medieval choir and transepts which had been the eastern part of the abbey. The main Dunfermline War Memorial on Monastery Street was unveiled by the Lord Lieutenant of Fife, Sir Ralph Anstruther, in 1925. A Second World War memorial and garden of remembrance were added in 1958 on a site assumed to have been home to the apiaries of the monastery. The memorial lists 632 of those killed in the First World War and another 275 in the Second World War. To the north of the Abbey, on the corner of Maygate and Abbot Street, is the Category A listed Abbot House. This is the oldest secular building still standing in Dunfermline. The house was originally built in the mid-15th century as a residence for Abbot Richard Bothwell, and this role continued until Commendator George Dury left to move into new apartments at the palace in 1540. Along Abbot Street is the Category B listed Dunfermline Carnegie Library, which was built between 1881 to 1883. This library was the first in the world to be funded via donations by philanthropist Andrew Carnegie. A total of 2,811 free public libraries were eventually built altogether. At the top of Moody Street is the Category B listed Handloom Weaver's Cottage, the birthplace of Andrew Carnegie, which dates from the early 18th century. An adjacent memorial hall was added to the birthplace in 1928. The Category A listed Guildhall on the High Street was erected in 1807 by the guilds of the local merchants who were ambitious for Dunfermline to become the county town of Fife. Lack of funds forced the building to be sold, but in 1811 funds were available to add the 40-metre high steeple. At the west end of the High Street is the Category A listed City Chambers with its 36-metre high central clock tower and turrets, designed by James Campbell Walker and built between 1876 to 1879. In the car park between Bruce Street and Chambers Street is St. Margaret's Cave, a place where she would retreat to pray in peace and quiet. The cave was reopened in 1993 to celebrate the 900th anniversary of her death. Forming the main entrance to Pittencrieff Park at the junction of Bridge Street and Chalmers Street is the Category A listed Louise Carnegie Memorial Gates, otherwise known as the Glen Gates. The gates, which opened in 1929, were paid for by the Dunfermline Carnegie Trust and named after Louise Carnegie, the wife of Andrew Carnegie. They lead up a path to a bronze statue of Andrew Carnegie which was unveiled in 1914. In the subsequent development of the modern park, the Category A listed Pittencrieff House, built around 1610 for Sir William Clark of Pennycook, was designed as a centrepiece. Two of the bedrooms were converted to create two long galleries for museum and art exhibition space in a restoration program undertaken by Sir Robert Lorimer between 1911 and 1913. Work on the building was completed in 2010 to repair and rehull the property, restoring the original ochre-coloured limewash exterior. The project was funded through the £1.7 million Dunfermline Conservation Area Regeneration Scheme under a partnership between Fife Council and Historic Scotland. A number of stately homes also exist on the outskirts of the town. The Category A listed Pitferran Castle, to the west of Dunfermline, was once the seat of the Halkett family. The castle, which dates from the 16th century, was purchased by the Carnegie Dunfermline Trust in 1951 for the use as a clubhouse for Dunfermline Golf Club. To the south of Dunfermline is the Category A listed Hill House and Portreevy Castle, both dating from the mid-17th century. Hill House was built as a residence for William Monteith of Ranford and Portreevy Castle as a manor house by Sir Henry Wardlaw. To the southwest of Dunfermline is the Category A listed Logie House, built as an Edwardian residence and seat for the Hunt family.